Welcome to the AI Brief from the YPO Technology Network. I'm Stephen Forte. Something got said 3 times in 5 days by 3 companies that do not coordinate. The first one said it with a report. The second said it by giving a product away. The third said it by paying more than $7 billion for software that contains no model at all. By the end of this episode, you will understand why the central AI question inside your company has changed. It used to be, which model do we pick? It is now, who controls our switch, and what does it cost us to change our mind? Yesterday, I told you what happens when a free switchboard between a company's applications and its AI models gets poisoned. Today is about what the market has decided a commercial one is worth. There is no security angle here. This is a story about price. Start on Thursday. Hugging Face published a report called State of Open Models. Hugging Face is the platform where the world's AI models are published and downloaded. Think of it as the App Store for AI, except almost everything on the shelves is free and strangers stocked the shelves. It is the platform's own data with its own definitions attached. That matters at the end. Here is what it says. Alibaba has a family of open models called Qwen. Alibaba is the Chinese e-commerce and cloud giant. Qwen recorded just over 2 billion downloads so far this year. Open weight means the model itself is published. You run it on machines you own with no account and no meter running. Now, the number that tells you something. These models also ship in compressed versions built to run on ordinary hardware rather than in a data center. Those are downloaded 39.6 million times a month. Google's open family is called Gemma. Gemma does 20.8 million. Meta's family is Llama. Llama does 7.5 million. One precision point, because this is where the coverage went wrong. Qwen is not the most downloaded model on that platform. By raw downloads, the leader is a small, aging text processing model that has never once come up in a board meeting. The real claim is narrower and more useful. Qwen is the dominant modern open model family, and the format it dominates is the one that needs no data center. One more figure: of the 28,000 compressed run-anywhere conversions of Alibaba's models on that platform, Alibaba published 54. Any manufacturer will recognize what that means. When independent shops start making parts for your machine unasked and unpaid, the machine has won. Now, the second one, Meta gave a capable model away. On Monday, the 10th of August, Meta released Muse Glimmer, 30 billion parameters. It ships under the Apache license, version 2, which in plain terms means no gated download, no ceiling on users, and no strings. It runs on a Mac or a PC with one ordinary graphics card, under 20 gigabytes once compressed. It works offline in more than 100 languages, and it is built for agents that carry a task across several steps. One detail in Meta's own post got skipped almost everywhere. Muse Glimmer is a distilled student model. It was trained on the outputs of a more capable model called Muse Spark. Muse Spark shipped in April. Muse Spark is closed. So Meta released the student and kept the teacher. In the same week, its chief executive published a letter of 6,500 words arguing that nobody should hold concentrated AI power. Credit where it is owed, and this one is specific. The letter commits Meta to an independent board of directors empowered to approve the safety criteria for releasing a model, and it asks the industry to do the same. Most labs have not put that on paper. Nobody made Meta write it down. Here is where that lands for an operator. Picture Northline Trading, a 400-person commodities and logistics group in Dubai. Its contracts and customer records cannot leave the United Arab Emirates, partly by regulation and partly because its largest counterparties insist. For 2 years, that kept the strongest models away from those documents. As of last Monday, a capable one runs on servers in a room its own staff can walk into, answering to nobody's terms of service. Swap Dubai for Frankfurt or Mumbai or Jakarta, and the constraint is the same under a different regulator. Data residency is the most common, honest reason a company runs its own model, and it has nothing to do with ideology. Which brings me to Saturday, and the only number anybody actually paid. Bloomberg reported on the 16th of August that Stripe has finalized its acquisition of OpenRouter for more than $7 billion in US dollars. Stripe is the payments company that processes checkout for much of the internet. OpenRouter is a single access point that routes a company's AI traffic across models, choosing between them by task, by cost, and by budget. By its own account, it reaches more than 400 models and 8 million users. Stripe declined to comment, saying it does not comment on rumors or speculation. Denial was not on the menu. OpenRouter raised money in May at a $1.3 billion valuation. 3 months later, more than $7 billion, 5 times the price in a quarter for a company that neither builds models nor hosts them. OpenRouter's chief executive is Alex Atala. In that same May announcement, he called his own company the equivalent of Stripe for AI. His words, 3 months later, actual Stripe agreed. You do not pay that kind of premium for a routing tool. You pay it for the position. If models are interchangeable, whoever sits between a company and all of them holds the meter and the switching decision. Stripe has spent its whole existence being that layer for money. It just bought the same seat for intelligence. Any finance chief who keeps a second bank on purpose knows the shape of this. You keep it so nobody else decides your spread. Here's my read. Put the three prices next to each other. Alibaba gives its models away and posts 2 billion downloads. Meta gives a capable model away under a license with no catch and keeps its best one closed. Stripe pays more than $7 billion, not for a model, but for the layer that makes models swappable. 3 companies, 3 strategies, 1 verdict. The weights are becoming the cheap part. Watch what these firms pay for rather than what they publish. Nobody paid a premium for a model this month. Somebody paid a very large one for the switch that sits in front of them. You might reasonably conclude the free option is now the obvious one. Not quite. There is a bill attached, and it is not a license fee. An open weight model arrives with no vendor, no support contract, no service level, and nobody to call at 2 a.m. It is the difference between owning your trucks and hiring them by the trip. Owning is cheaper to run and far more expensive on the morning one breaks down. That trade support against control is a procurement decision, not a philosophy, and it should not be settled by whoever is most enthusiastic in the room. One last thing, and it is a number I would stop trusting. 4 cumulative download totals for the same family of models have circulated this year. One said 700 million, another said 1 billion. Press coverage of this very report went with 3 billion over 6 months. The report itself says just over 2 billion. They rest on at least 3 different ways of counting, and the earlier ones trace to one analysis nobody can reproduce. This episode used Hugging Face's own report for one reason. It publishes its definitions next to its figures, which is the only thing that makes a number usable. Everything else was a leaderboard with no rules. So the download count is unreliable. What people paid is not. 2 billion downloads of something given away free, more than $7 billion for the thing in front of it. Those are the 2 numbers here that came with a receipt. Nobody ever got locked in by a model. They got locked in by whatever sat in front of it. That is the YPO Tech Network AI brief for Tuesday, August 18th. I am Stephen Forte. If this was useful, send it to a fellow member. I will be back tomorrow with more. Until then, stay sharp.